Today I'm sharing fun wood projects you can make for fall and Halloween DIY home decor that's budget friendly and creative. Welcome to the Chic Show. Would You Make playlist is hosted by Rustic and Lace DIY, Divine Designs, and co-hosted by the Crafty Doll. These three oval pieces of wood, but I think they are from Dollar Tree, and I cut them at different lengths. I'll be using the scrap pieces on the next project. I also used my sander and flattened out the top just a little bit. Now I'm going to be using these three colors by DIY and painting each one of my what are going to be pumpkins in those colors. And I'm using these little cedar pieces that I had in my stash as well. And I'm going to stain one of them darker, one of them lighter, and leave one natural. These, of course, will be my pumpkin stems. I wanted to add a little bit of depth to these pumpkins, so I brushed on a little bit of that antiquing glaze by Fusion, and then I went back with a wipe and kind of wiped it back, and it looks a little bit aged as well as a little bit textured. And whatever I didn't like, I just used another brush and brushed on more and wiped it back till I was happy with it. I used Titebond Quick and Thick to attach my stems to each of the pumpkins, and then I used a clip to hold them in place until they dried. Once those were dry, I used Titebond again to adhere my pumpkins together. To embellish my pumpkins a little bit, I just tied together some raffia, cut it down to size, and then glued it to the top of each pumpkin. So that my pumpkin would stand up, I used a larger Jenga block and glued it to the back. Now for the rest of those wood pieces. I have three different sizes, and I'm going to be painting them all with Waverly chalk paint and plaster. Now that they are painted and dry, I made a little template so that I could draw some eyes on my little ghosts. I wanted all the eyes to be the same size. Now I'm going back with a black paint marker and coloring in the eyes. The paint marker did a great job at giving me a guide, but it didn't really cover as well as I wanted, so I went back with a small brush and some Waverly chalk paint in ink. I just don't trust myself to do this completely with a brush. That's why I drew the eyes on first. I'm going to be gluing these ghosts together as shown here, but that little guy, he needs something in the back to help support him. So I just cut down a couple of popsicle sticks, glued them together, and I'm going to glue them in place right here with Titebond Quick and Thick. I used my finger sander to sand around the edges and over the top a little bit just to kind of give them more of a rustic look, and also it kind of gives them an outline as well. Once I have them sanded, they're ready to be glued together. So I'm going to add the medium-sized ghost on first, and then I will add the smaller guy. I am trying to be careful to make sure the glue is just on the part of the wood that's going to attach to the other piece. I do want to make sure that these are completely flat on the bottom so that it will stand up correctly. So I'm doing that while the glue is still wet. And then I'm going to use my clips here to clip them together while they dry. I then used my apothecary stamps just to stamp on the word boo. This is the Moody Night by the painted photographer Rice Paper, and DIY paint Mermaid Tail and Electrified. This is a box I've had in my stash since last year, and I'm going to start by giving it a coat of Waverly chalk paint in ink, the inside of the box and the outside. When I first saw this rice paper, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, and it turned out to be my favorite piece from today. So I'm real excited about it, and I hope that you like it too. I'm going to go ahead and trim down the paper to fit on the top of the box. I'm going to paint over those images on the front with Waverly chalk paint in Snow White, and this will take a couple of coats to cover those dark colors. My first plan was to go with a mermaid tail for this box, and then I decided to go ahead and paint it black and make it more Halloween-ish. But I am using that electrified on the edges of the top of the box. And once again, I'm going to add that liquid patina, spritz my rice paper, and place it on the top of the box. Once the paper is dry, I'm sanding away the excess around the edges to give that nice smooth line. I felt like this piece needed something at the top, so I decided to add a name of a piece of music by Camille Saint-Saëns called Danse Macabre. And yes, that does mean Dance of Death, but it's really a fun piece of music. I recommend you go look it up and listen to it. It's just really a fun piece. So I stamped that on the top using my apothecary label stamps from IOD. And then I used some black wax and clear wax along the edges. I started with that clear wax and then went back with a little bit of dark wax on the edges of the top. I placed the top on top of the box and then decided I think this still could use a little bit more. What should I do? And then I thought, well, it's a piece of music. Let's add some music. So this is IOD's Waltz stamp. I did not want this to be really dark, so I just lightly tapped my ink pad over the section that I wanted to stamp and then rubbed over it gently and pulled it back, and this was perfect. This is exactly what this needed. So again, I encourage you to go look up Camille Saint-Saëns' Danse Macabre and listen to it. It's really a fun piece of music. I hope this fall and Halloween DIY with decoupage. I have a square block. I believe this was a children's block that I thrifted somewhere, and I painted it black, just Waverly chalk paint in ink. And now I'm using this scrap of decoupage paper, and I'm going to decoupage that on using liquid patina. I did spritz my paper first with some water. It just helps it to helps me get all the wrinkles out and makes it a little more flexible and stretches a little bit. So I do a little starter strip with my liquid patina, and then I brush over the top of it as well. And then I will finish that up on the bottom half. I poured this little bat using resin, and I believe the mold was actually from the candy section at Walmart. And I then used some of DIY's patina paint and their patina spray, and then it rests overnight. Now I'm using a little bit of gold rub and buff just to bring out the details. Now that my decoupage paper is dry, I'm going to go around the edge and sand off any excess paper, and also sand the edges, all sides of the block. Using Titebond Quick and Thick, I'll glue this little bat straight to the front of that wood block with the decoupage paper. I made a whole set of these. The other two you can see in previous videos. I hope these wood projects inspired your next DIY for fall and Halloween. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back for more cozy seasonal ideas. Check out the playlist or this video right here for more inspiration. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to share the chic. Bye now.